President Trump had given Ukraine a Thanksgiving deadline to respond to a peace proposal. European leaders are meeting to discuss the plan today. Many Ukrainians have said they doubt the plan will actually end the war. The original plan has been criticized by Democrats and many Ukrainians for calling on Ukraine to cede territory and shrink its military.
We all continue working with partners, especially the United States, and look for compromises that strengthen but not weaken us. And we will continue explaining how dangerous it is to pretend that aggression is something one can simply overlook and move on.
President Trump has said that his Thanksgiving deadline for Ukraine is, quote, flexible.
Now, joining us now, Benjamin Radd, political science and global studies professor at UCLA. Benjamin, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, I want to go ahead here. A lot of people who have looked at this plan said the initial plan that they looked at looked like it could have been written by the Kremlin. Can you talk about that and why there are going to be some huge hurdles here to get Ukraine to actually agree to this?
Yeah, definitely. So there are several points in the plan that we know of. I mean, it has not been released in full detail publicly, so there's only leaks. But essentially, it amounts to a degree of capitulation for Ukraine. It cedes certain territory that the Russians have occupied, including the Crimea and most of the Donbas region, to Russia. It grants Russia amnesty, complete amnesty, for all crimes committed by the Russians since the start of the war. And it also doesn't allow much in terms of Ukrainian security beyond loose guarantees in case Russia were to reinvade. So there's conditions in there that say no NATO membership and demilitarization and weakening of the Ukrainian army. So for Ukraine and many European leaders, these are all non-starters.
Yeah, you know, we're talking a little bit about what Ukraine needs to do, seceding territory, et cetera. What about Russia? What do they need to do to make sure that these peace deals go into effect?
Well, what they need to do is make sure that on their end, assuming, let's say, that these positions stand, which it's unlikely it's going to, the Ukrainians will not accept this. But from the Russian perspective, it's effectively agreeing that this is the end of their territorial ambitions and claims. That, you know, in the coming years, let's say Vladimir Putin or whomever else succeeds him eventually doesn't push for additional gains. It doesn't push additional requirements on that would compromise Ukrainian security. So ultimately, it comes down to 2 points. Russia has to respect Ukrainian sovereignty on what territory it does have, and Russia has to not undermine Ukrainian security by weakening its alliances with other nations.
If people aren't caught up, the U.S. and Ukraine did hold these weekend talks in Geneva. Donald Trump saying he doesn't believe, he says, don't believe it until you see it, but something good just may be happening. What do you think he means by that?
Very vague. It's the president, you know, oftentimes he'll put an optimistic spin on these meetings, and it's really unclear at this point whether the Ukrainians will accept the conditions as we know of them since they've been reported. But I think even more recent reporting as of this morning in the New York Times indicates that there was some movement, some compromise towards a goal, but some of the key issues, for example, again, NATO membership, Ukrainian security guarantees, what territory will remain sovereign to Ukraine. These are issues that are outstanding. So again, President Trump trying to put positive spin on this, trying to keep the momentum in favor of an agreement. But until some of those sticking points are addressed and the Ukrainians are satisfied, it's difficult to see what that path will look like.
Yeah, and moving forward, if a peace deal is reached, like we're hoping for, what are some of the biggest challenges to its implementation?
Well, again, we'll be getting everybody on board. We're talking about European nations that have invested heavily in Ukraine's security, both in terms of arms sales and territorial integrity. It's making sure that Russia does not violate the conditions of an agreement, meaning, for example, launching drone incursions, even if it's surveillance, targeting officials, and relinquishing any additional territorial claims. And I should also note, for the Russians, getting sanctions removed and being brought back into the international community as part of these international organizations that it's been kicked out of, these are also key elements. And then, of course, there are the allegations and accusations of war crimes, some of which are in front of the International Court now, which Russia should be held to account for, but this deal is vague about those elements.
Whatever happened to this idea that Zelensky, Putin, and Trump would all meet somewhere to get this hashed out?
It would only make sense for them to meet if they can agree on the basic parameters of a deal. Meeting for the sake of meeting accomplishes nothing and probably would isolate Zelensky. I mean, he doesn't really have a lot of leverage going into a trilateral meeting. So it would only make sense if all parties ahead of the meeting can outline what's at stake, what they preliminarily agree on, and what are the major points. And they're right now, the three of them, or especially the Ukrainians and Russians, are far apart on that.
Okay. Benjamin Radd, thank you so much for being with us this morning and breaking it all down.
Thank you.